It's been just 6 months since DANDADAN Season 1 blew our collective minds. A gorgeously animated adaptation of Yukinobu Tatsu's mind-bendingly exciting action sci-fi rom-com manga. And after coming out swinging with one of 2024's best anime, Science Saru is back already to bring us Season 2. Once again, they're releasing the first 3 episodes, along with some really special content, in movie theaters worldwide as DANDADAN Evil Eye. And last week, I got to attend the world premiere with the director and English VAs as special guests. It'll be no surprise when I tell you this team cooked even harder on Season 2. But what is the first arc like as a movie experience? What did I get to see at the world premiere? And what did the cast and crew have to share with us all? I've been dying to talk about the experience, so let's get into it.
You showed up in time. Let the festival begin. Oh, creepy! Son of a...
Just like the first DANDADAN theater experience, this is the first 3 episodes of the season packaged together as a movie experience, led in with some interviews with some of the creators, and then a number of scenes from Season 1 to recap everything that happened before showing you a few minutes of the very end of Episode 12. So we're jumping right into the same feeling you had when you saw it. Then DANDADAN Evil Eye picks up immediately where Episode 12 left off. So for those of you worrying about the creepy predicament that Momo is in, that's going to get resolved real quick. What exactly is going on with Jiji's house and what happened to his parents? What about those creepy locals that we saw in Episode 12? And why is Turbo Granny's voice in the trailer when we didn't see her there? All of that will be explained in the movie. Just like the first DANDADAN movie, this covers the first 3 of 4 episodes that are included in this Evil Eye arc. So we'll meet some new faces, see some new creatures, and resolve at least some of the plot lines that are going to be introduced. But there will be one more episode to wrap up everything going on in the Evil Eye arc. But don't let that fool you into thinking that this movie is going to tease you and then not deliver. Just like the first movie, this is an amazing experience in theaters. But before I get into a little bit more of what happens in the film without spoilers, let's jump back to past Steve to discuss and show a bit of what the world premiere experience was like. I'm here in LA visiting some friends, but also attending the premiere of the DANDADAN Evil Eye movie, which GKids is premiering here in LA as an event before it comes out across US theaters a week later on June 6th, so you'll be able to see it soon. I'm excited not just to see this, which will cover presumably the first 3 or 4 episodes of DANDADAN Season 2, but this covers an arc I really enjoy. We get a lot more of Jiji and his backstory, and he becomes, well, you'll see. Of course, Okarun and Momo and Turbo Granny also play a big part in this one, and if you thought Season 1 was wild and crazy, Season 2 has so many acts that are going to top that, and I'm very excited to see it. There's also some changes to the staffing. Abel Gongora, who was part of the Season 1 team, most notably responsible for the opening, which was incredible, is now on as a co-director with Yamashiro-san. So I believe he might actually be at the event tonight, along with Abby Trott, AJ Beckles, and Aleks Lee, who voice Momo, Okarun, and Jiji. Who knows, maybe somebody else will be here. But I'm just excited to get more DANDADAN. It hasn't even been that long since we got Season 1, so we didn't have to wait too long for Season 2. And I'm curious to hear some stories about what's going on with the production and what they have planned for everybody. So it'll be interesting to see this. You might be wondering why I'm wearing a white jacket, not really my color, but I actually chose to dress up as a character, not from the season. I wasn't sure I could pull it off, but if anybody is familiar with the manga, this is a character who will show up in a future season, and they are known as Sanjome, a sensei in the school who's always been there. Sanjome Sensei's always been there. It'd probably help if I put on, let's see. There we go. Just a normal teacher who wears a really nice white jacket. I don't know if the outfit fully suits me, and it would help if I shaved my beard and dyed my hair purple, but regardless, close enough for a premiere. I'm hoping maybe a few folks who are reading the manga will recognize what I'm going for. Otherwise, I'm just going to be the guy who dressed up a little bit too much. There is one more special touch to this outfit I want to do. All right, there we go. Got Turbo Granny on the outfit. We'll see if anybody gets it. The short-term goal for tonight is for 3 people to recognize what I'm going for. If I can't get that, maybe at least if I explain what I'm going for to 3 people who know the character, they'll go, oh, that's who that is. Anyway, got a buddy who's going to be there as well, who's picking me up in a little bit, so we'll get going, and I'll try to get some footage of at least the lead up to event. Obviously, there's going to be no footage of the film, and then and I'll be excited to talk about what my thoughts were afterwards. Walking into the theater where this was held was a really cool experience. They had a red carpet laid out with special characters, Serpo and Turbo Granny, who has surprisingly grown up quite a bit. In addition to all of the staff working there, you could see director Abel Gongora, along with the English voice actors Abby Trott, AJ Beckles, and Aleks who voice Momo, Okarun, and Jiji respectively. And then so many of the people in attendance came in cosplay. I mentioned that I dressed as Sanjome. Manga readers will know who that is. If you're just watching the anime, don't worry about it yet. You'll know and get excited when he finally turns up in a future season. There were plenty of people I talked to dressed as Okarun and Momo. A friend of mine made this incredible DANDADAN one-of-one denim jacket, which is so cool, hand-drawn. He actually got AJ Beckles to sign it. AJ was looking great, and then Abby and Aleks both dressed as their characters, which was really cool. And I even saw, speaking of characters who show up later, this particular character dressed as Vomola. Don't worry about who that is, you'll find out eventually. We were able to then grab our snacks and head into the theater. As I mentioned earlier, from what I'm hearing, the film does include some interview footage with the creators, but the version that we saw at the world premiere didn't include that, probably because we already had the director and some of the English VAs there as special guests to talk a bit about the experience and answer some questions.
Can't wait to see it up there.
I'm super excited too. Man, am I nervous though. But I think everyone did an amazing job, and I can't wait for you all to see it too.
So instead, our version kicked off with scenes from season 1, and then, of course, the few minutes of footage from episode 12 to lead us into Evil Eye. So from there, we were right into it, and then proceeded through all 3 episodes as one cohesive story. If you haven't been to a movie theater to see an anime film, I highly recommend the experience. Sure, there's some advantages to seeing anime episodes at home on your couch, but something about the larger screen, the much larger audio equipment surrounding you, and most importantly, an audience of other anime fans watching it with you, cheering, gasping, and reacting as you do is a really unique experience, especially for many of us who grew up watching anime at home on our computers, maybe with a friend or two, but we just didn't have that social connection with anime fans when I was growing up that you really get now that it's become such a larger global phenomenon. So I'd highly encourage people to go out and see it. I've also been reading that depending on where you're seeing the film, some places have special giveaways of posters, or even cooler content. France in particular had some really neat merch that I've been seeing on Reddit. So even without the merch, it's cool to see in theaters. I plan on going again because I got to see the dub film in the world premiere, and I'd really like to see the sub one as well. So I don't want to get into spoilers. I'll put a little section at the end for people who've read the manga and talk a bit more about content that manga readers at least know is in it, but just some high-level things to discuss, even though hopefully you're already encouraged as a fan to go see the film. First of all, Momo is amazing as always. One of the things I really like about her character is that she's very rarely the damsel in distress type. When Momo is in trouble, Momo is getting herself out of it. Whether that's in episode 1 where she ends up being the one to power kick the final Serpo and free herself, to dealing with Turbo Granny and being the one who ultimately lays the final blow. And of course in combat with Acro Silky and with Nessie and the Serpoians in the middle of the season, Momo has proven time and time again that she is perfectly capable of taking care of herself. Arguably, she's the one who has her own powers instead of getting them from some other entity. And she doesn't need a man to save her, although it is a little swoon-worthy the moments that Okarun gets to. But the both of them are constantly saving each other, and I really like seeing how much more she's coming into her own and handling situations with her own abilities, although there's obviously some team-up happening as well. On the other hand, we've got Okarun, who, despite getting along well with Momo, has been a... And we've been seeing him come more into his own in season 1. We got a little bit of it at the end with Jiji, who he views as a bit of a threat, and we get to see him actually voicing a bit in the argument between him and Jiji over who likes Momo more. But we also get to see him making his first real male friend, where he's explaining cryptids and Jiji gets really excited and they're going back and forth. Even Momo hinted that she wanted to give them a bit of time to bond because she's excited to see Okarun make a new friend. We also see him coming more into his own as far as using his powers. Certainly he got to do it in season 1, but there's a bit more of a take charge Okarun that we'd started seeing and continues through this film. So both the kids are getting used to their powers and are more comfortable rushing to each other's aid and trying to help each other, which I really appreciated. And then of course there's Jiji, seems weird to say the comedic energy because they're all such lovable goofballs, but Jiji's got a ridiculous energy, and Aleks Lee as the English voice really brings that to another level with some of the dialogue that he provides to the character. But there's obviously another side to Jiji. We know something's happened with his parents and something's off with this house. And so in this movie, we get to see that he's not just the one-dimensional joke character. There's more to him, and we got some hints about him looking for friends and him connecting with Okarun a bit, and obviously how much he cares for Momo being her childhood friend. So after this movie, I know there's some people were a little upset that he's showing up to possibly get in between Okarun and Momo, but I don't know if anybody's going to be able to finish this film and not also be a fan of Jiji. Not shipping him with Momo, just saying Jiji's a great guy. And of course, if you've seen a trailer, you've heard Turbo Granny's voice, maybe seen her on screen, so she turns up somehow, and we need that chaotic gremlin energy that she brings. Sure, she's got knowledge and experience as a yokai who's been around for untold eons, but she's also trapped in a little cat body, and so she's just as capable of getting herself into trouble without the ability to get herself out of it. And if you loved all the moments that she had in season 1, she's bringing that in this movie, and as a manga reader, that's going to continue through season 2. So the 4 of them together really make up the core of our good guys team, I suppose. There's just enough mixing and matching between their characters to keep things fresh as the movie is going. And then, without speaking too much to the actual enemies in this film, it's fair for y'all to assume that there's an enemy. You've seen it in the trailer. There's the giant yellow-looking thing, and of course we've seen the creepy townspeople. They're simultaneously a little weird and a little unnerving in terms of the people, maybe a little bit funny because all the people in this series can be funny at times. And that's not even speaking to Evil Eye, which is the name of the film, even though if you've just seen season 1, you don't quite know what Evil Eye is yet. You will find out. And Evil Eye is spectacular. If we look back on season 1, sure, Turbo Granny was evil, but she had good intentions when it related to trying to help those young girls who were hurt. And of course, Acro Silky had her own incredibly tear-jerking backstory that was maybe the best anime episode of last year. Even the aliens that we meet have their own situations, and so you'll get to learn about Evil Eye, but you can probably get from the trailer there's more to it than just being evil. There's not too much else I can really say about the content. I will say that the animation is as beautiful as ever. You can see where Abel Gongora, who, as I mentioned, was notably part of the opening for DANDADAN season 1, him coming on as co-director with Yamashiro is an interesting choice, and we'll see more of it as the season goes on. But there were a couple parts during the movie where I thought I could see his own touches. What I can definitely say for sure is it's definitely to the benefit and not to the detriment of the season, and I'm really excited to see what the two do together. And if you're seeing this in theaters, I'm recording this before I go see it in theaters, they probably talk a little bit in the interview about what it was like for the two of them to work together. Music, of course, Kensuke Ushio, responsible for the soundtrack. There's nothing more to say than that was one of the greatest soundtracks of last year. The man has a long catalog of doing incredible work on anime films and television shows, and he clearly loves DANDADAN. I got to see him speak at a panel last year about how much fun he had creating the music for this show and coming up with influences to pull from and samples to use. So he's having a blast working on DANDADAN, and that is very evident in the music that we got in season 2 so far. I'm really excited to see what other tracks we get. The movie did not include if there is a new OP or ED, so I don't know for sure. I wouldn't be surprised because this is being called season 2, not core 2 of season 1. It's pretty rare for anime to keep the same song between seasons, so I would expect something new. And as unfortunate as it is to say goodbye to Otonoke and Zutomayo, I'm really curious to see what else they've brought on because both of those songs were incredible. So I have faith the team will pick something else interesting. Finally, as far as it relates to the imagery and the coloring, because season 1 had such incredible usage of color design, where the aliens would often introduce a blue glow and then Turbo Granny was red, Nessie was green. There's a bit, we do see some of that in Evil Eye as well. You can probably tell from the trailers that Evil Eye itself has a bit of a purple shade to it, and the yellow thing that I don't want to describe obviously has some yellow coloring, whereas the creepy villagers have like a grayish color to them. I absolutely love the choice that Science Saru and Yamashiro-san and the team have made in using color to so distinctly identify the different forces and creatures and beings in this show. And it's clear from this episode that they're gonna continue to do that. I will say easily the highlight is Evil Eye. All the uses of purple, which you can see in some of the attacks used during the trailer, I'll put up some footage, is really, really cool. And that kind of gloomy, creepy, haunting purple color really pops because of the vibrant rainbow earrings that the Evil Eye character is wearing. So I could gush about the color alone for a while, and I guess I'll save that for my article where I can just write about it. But suffice to say, this is just me hyping up the movie because I have nothing to complain about. Even some of the action scenes, there's a, not surprisingly, you can see it in the trailer, a bit of action between transformed Okarun and the Evil Eye character. And there were parts of that that I felt like I could identify, oh, this is where Abel Gongora brought in some of his expertise to the show as well. So it just keeps getting better. And knowing what's coming later in the season, I'm so incredibly hyped. So as far as the Q&A that happened after the movie, there's a couple comments that they made that I'd like to share with people. I mentioned that the combat between Okarun and Jiji seemed to highlight something Abel was bringing to the show, but what he actually mentioned was that he put a lot of effort into making sure that they were conveying Jiji's emotions. Obviously, we get to see him as this happy-go-lucky, exciting guy who says wacky things in the first season, but there's a lot more depth to him, and Aleks also talked about the fact that he's then needs to get across the feelings that Jiji has towards his family and towards trying to be maybe more outgoing and happy to his friends, even if he's feeling some sadder things on the inside. The cast were asked what they learned new about their characters in season 2, and Abby commented that Momo is getting more confident with her powers, and you can see that clearly in her actions. And she's also starting to develop more relationships with the characters, which, for example, you can see in episode 12 of season 1 when she goes to take a bath because she wants to and it seems goofy, but then she wanted actually to give Okarun some time to spend with Jiji because she saw them starting to become friends and wanted that moment for Okarun. Meanwhile, AJ pointed out that Okarun, now that he has friends, is becoming a little bit more confident as well and is starting to actually come up proactively with ideas to deal with situations, which you'll see in the movie very clearly. Whereas in season 1, he was more reactionary or turning to Momo for ideas. As for Aleks, he came into season 1 late, but he commented on how Jiji is really cool and athletic and outgoing, but that's something he sometimes is projecting with his friends, even when he's feeling a little bit sadder on the inside. Jiji copes with the dark side of him and the things he's feeling with humor. He wants to be a beacon for his friends, even if he's struggling internally. He also enjoyed doing the cool new voice for Jiji, which you can hear in the trailers, and you'll see more about that voice and why he does it in the film. So between him and AJ Beckles, they're getting a lot of different voice work to do. Abby was asked about her thoughts on Momo as a leading lady, and she commented how much she loves playing Momo and that she's a joy to voice. She pointed out that Momo is very powerful, but has trouble expressing her emotions, which is why she compliments Okarun so well. And we can see that in the silly arguments they get into because they're both struggling with that a little bit. She also commented on how outspoken Momo is and that she's the type of person who makes a promise and then has to keep it. Meanwhile, the namesake of the film, The Evil Eye, is new for everyone, and Abel was asked about what went into writing that story. Without getting in any spoilers, Abel said that he wanted to make the backstory weird and dark, but not so much that it's depressing. They wanted to make it look graphic and use a lot of texture, which you can pick up in the trailer and you'll definitely see in the movie. They also wanted it to complement someone's story, and so that's kind of mixed in, and if you've seen the film, you'll know what I'm talking about, but that's mixed in with some other story as well to show those contrasts and comparisons. Abel described it as crazy but beautiful, and I think that's a really good description of the story from the manga and exactly how they managed to portray it in animation, which is great because this is one of my favorite arcs of the whole series, and most people would agree. I think as AJ put it himself as a manga reader, this is one of his favorites, so he was very excited to see it animated. And speaking of the manga, at the end of the film, some of the audience were allowed to ask questions as well. So someone asked what it was like for each of them to read the manga if they did and how that influences their character work. AJ's come out quite a bit and said that he had actually read the manga, I think at least a year before he ever got the role. He commented that as any manga reader knows, it's really cool to see the characters grow. And of course he can then use that to inform the work he's putting into the voice, but that sometimes it can feel like cheating. Abby, meanwhile, hadn't read the manga before she landed the role, but after the audition, she did so partly as research of the character, but also just because Momo is so complex that she wanted to read on and see what happens with her. Meanwhile, Aleks wasn't completely clear how much of the manga he's read, but he did comment that it's good to know where the character is going, but that the anime adds new things that makes it feel fresh. The way he put it, every time he steps into the booth is like a new experience, even if he's read the manga and knows what's going to happen. Towards the end, somebody asked each of the VAs if they had a particular line, whether from the prior season, the movie, or even upcoming, that they were particularly fond of. Aleks, who has, I think, put out a video on Instagram where he got to adapt a line a little bit and be involved in the translation, commented that their director does leave room for them to help influence the lines where it's appropriate, or even just work on the delivery, which is really cool. He said that's exciting to then record in the booth and hear the reactions to lines you worked on, and of course seeing fan reaction as well. Abby, meanwhile, had one very specific line in mind, which was,
"Want me to feed you while you get swole?"
The line Aleks brought up is when Okarun and Jiji are fighting over the soccer ball. He didn't change the lines, but really liked the delivery. That's where Jiji says,
She's my childhood friend. I win.
He said that line only took one delivery, and then the director told him it was great and that they didn't need to do it again. He also commented on getting into woodworking during the pandemic, and so at the end of episode 12, when Jiji takes a hammer to that wall, and Okarun asks if anybody's going to be concerned, he says the line,
Bust a hole in it. Is that okay? It's a rental, so it ain't. Whatever, I'm doing it.
And so Aleks, who had also been doing his own DIY projects, connected way too strongly with that particular mentality. Meanwhile, AJ brought up one of the most Okarun lines, which is during season 1 when somebody says that Momo's kind of cute, and Okarun kind of realizes to himself for the first time and goes, "Oh, she is kind of cute." The last line of the night was Abel being asked if he had any last words for the fans, and he pointed out something we all kind of knew, which was that the next episode is the climax, so get excited, everything will wrap up. That does mean, of course, that we're going to need to wait for the show to start streaming so that we can finally get episode 4. Maybe there's a bit longer of a cliffhanger, but I have to say it was worth it to see it on the big screen. So much so that I'm going to go do it again. I saw it in dub, now I want to see it in sub. I'd be happy either way, honestly. I just want more DANDADAN, and I'm excited that we're getting it. So I've talked about the movie and my experience seeing it, but how about you? Well, when I'm recording this, actually, the film is available in at least some countries. I've read a couple of folks in Southeast Asia, for example, have seen it. But at least in the US, the film comes out on June 6th. And presumably wherever you are, it's this week that the film is becoming available, maybe a little bit later for some. The show doesn't come out until July 3rd, so you're gonna have to wait a month to see it, and it's not gonna be quite the same experience. So if you're enticed even a little bit by the promise of seeing it on a bigger screen with better audio and a bunch of anime fans around you to enjoy the experience, along with potentially some cool giveaways, depending on what country you're seeing it in. I've seen some folks getting posters. France had some really cool extra items, including a shikishi. So depending on where you are, there might be some goodies to have along with the experience itself. And you've probably noticed we're getting a lot more anime films internationally now. That is not a mistake. They're noticing that we as anime fans are willing to spend money to get these experiences. So if this is something that you're interested in, make sure that you get out and see the movie, and more importantly, share that you've done it on social media, because that's part of the way that they're getting feedback. It's not just about ticket sales, it's about word and outreach. So I'm putting this video out to hopefully encourage a few of you to go see it that way, and regardless, to get excited for season 2, because it really is everything from season 1 and more. And if you thought things were wild and weird and crazy and you couldn't believe the things that came out of Yuki Nobutatsu's mind in season 1, that was all set up. It just gets weirder and wilder and crazier and more fun in season 2. You'll never be able to predict what's coming, and that's what makes it such a joy. Plus the fact that clearly the folks at Science Saru love making this, and that the voice actors are having such a fun time. There's a reason, at least the English VAs are going to all the cons they can and just trying to engage with fans as much as they can, because they're having so much fun playing these characters. Regardless, thank you so much for watching this video. I'm going to get into spoilers for manga readers. But for the rest of you, if you enjoyed this video, please let me know. And certainly if you see the movie, let me know what you think. And if you got cool goodies, I'm very curious to hear. Drop it in the comments what is being given away and where, because I don't know, and I'm sure other people don't as either. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. All right, manga readers, I had to get back into the Sanjome cosplay to have this conversation. I know I need to shave the beard and get a wig with purple hair, but
for now, this will work. Yeah, this series continues to be everything we could ever want out of an adaptation. From the Subterraneans and their leader doing the Jennifer Lopez anaconda attack, which is just as funny as you imagine it will be, to the constant shifts between terrifying to serious to goofy that we saw in season 1. All of that is still here. The art is just as clean, if not cleaner, and it's really evident once they go below ground. The Mongolian deathworm is creepy and strange and has like this yellow glow to it, and its mind control attacks when it gets Momo and Okarun. It's a little terrifying, the psychic waves controlling them and making them want to hurt themselves. And you can see the terror that Jiji's going through when they do it. Also, just how far below ground they are, it gives you the sense of just how much work those villagers had put into building house upon house upon house upon house. And speaking of that, the Evil Eye backstory it's just as sad and creepy and strange and endearing as Acro Silky's. Nothing's going to hit that episode 7 level, but you really feel for the kid and what he was forced to witness as a ghost or a spirit, seeing what was done to all the family's sense and how he became what he was. And then that transformation when he takes over Jiji is great. But also Jiji, resonating with the Evil Eye, they merge, and I didn't talk about this in the prior part of the video, but Abel comments on how they intermixed Jiji's own childhood flashbacks, where you get to understand what he's gone through and some of the pain that he's not showing his friends, along with what the Evil Eye went through, to show why Jiji then connects with it and wants to help it, and runs down to free it. And then you get the transformation with the earrings and the pose, and the ball of screaming souls is so good. Highlight action-wise has to be Jiji versus Okarun. And that's where I was thinking that I could kind of see where Abel probably had brought in some of his own expertise to what's done, the way they're running in the enclosed environments, and Okarun constantly trying to dodge, to the part where the Evil Eye traps him in the version of the cursed house that he can't get out of, and it's really beating him down, and Okarun's just taking it and taking it and taking it, until that moment where he grabs him and says, "You did 3 things wrong." And of course, one of them is hurting Momo or trying to hurt her. Oh man, it's so good. That's the part that we don't get fully wrapped up in this movie. So episode 4, in the movie, we see the conclusion with the Mongolian deathworm. You get that moment of Momo having to figure out what to do on her own because she doesn't have the boys to help her, and flooding the worm and then keeping it from running away. The moment she throws the fire engine at the house is so cool. And you're like, there was cheering in the audience when she knocks that down and the worm finally collapses and crumbles. And you see the sun, but then she realizes that she still has to get Jiji and Okarun, and they're still down there. That's episode 4, is the conclusion with the Evil Eye. I'm really excited to see from this serious moment to Okarun convincing it to, play with him, that's ultimately what it wants. Man, the Evil Eye dancing and seeing people playing as it's trapped it's heart-wrenching, and I guess that's the advantage of being a manga reader, is you're like, okay, I know that, obviously the kid had a terrible childhood and experience and death, but at least going forward, Okarun and Jiji are going to try to make its existence, I guess, its spiritual existence, a little bit better. Like I said, I'm going to see it again. I don't need to. I got to see it in theaters already, but I really want to see that in theaters again. I absolutely love what they're doing with the show. I like how they package the episodes together in a movie, even though, it leaves off with something to be concluded. And I felt the same way with the first movie. It does a really good job of being a film, even if there's like a little bit coming after, like with the first movie where we didn't have the fight with Turbo Granny, but it set it up for that final confrontation. That's what this is. The only thing that we don't know from this, and it was the same with the first movie, is we haven't seen the OP and the ED. So that's still up in the air. They do that intentionally. I'm excited to see that, but if you're a manga fan, I've got all the books. I kind of went crazy on my last trip to Japan buying standees of everyone. if you're a DANDADAN fan, it's probably one of your favorites. I don't know how it wouldn't be. It's my favorite current running manga. Yeah, the movie is so good, and that experience of seeing it on screen is amazing. So I highly encourage you to go out and do it. Check and see if they're doing any giveaways where you are. I know we're gonna have a bit of a cliffhanger because we are gonna have to wait an extra month until the show starts airing, and then 4 more weeks for episode 4, but we know what's coming. It's such a cool experience. I'm just rambling, so go see it in theaters. If you do, let me know what you think of it. Am I overhyping it? I don't think so, but I'd love to know what other people think of the experience. I'm gonna put a comment down below for people who've seen the manga because I don't want any spoilers in the comments. For people who don't know, just reply to my parent comment if you are familiar with the manga. Just any spoilers can go there. Thank you so much for watching this, and I will be putting out more content about DANDADAN. Obviously, I'm really hoping. Last year at AX, I actually got to interview Yamashiro-san and 2 of the producers. I'm hoping at some of the cons this year I might get an opportunity to speak with some of the cast or crew, and if I do, I will obviously be making a video to talk about it. So if you're a fan, go see it in theaters. It's such an incredible experience, and the more attention that this show and the movie gets, obviously, the easier it is for Science Star to greenlight a season 3. So we finally get Count Saint Germain and Sanjome, Vamola and Kinta and Zuma. Let's make it happen. Anyway, thank you again for watching all the way to the end, and of course, a like, a comment, a subscribe. All of it would really help the channel. If I get the opportunity, there will be more DANDADAN content. So. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.